So a couple years back, my buddies and I tried to stay in the park after closing time. Our plan was just to take pictures, nothing sinister or anything like that. We just wanted to be able to say that we did it, you know? Basically, we snuck from the bathroom to bathroom, corner to corner, and managed to stay there until they closed the gates and the maintenance team got to work. And we were really surprised that we hadn't gotten caught. It was almost strange considering how much talking up Disney security gets. Our hearts were beating like crazy, and we sat there for a while hiding behind a tombstone by the Haunted Mansion. We noticed that it's true. The Disney staff have signed their names on every single one. So finally we got the courage to roam around, still being careful as to not be seen. It was really eerie. The occasional guard or maintenance worker would walk by and we would just duck or hide behind a corner, and this worked. For about half an hour. Of course, we couldn't keep this up for long, and yeah, they caught us. I mean, give us props for even attempting and succeeding, but that's not where the story ends. So the first thing we said when they caught us was, "Are you gonna take us down to the dungeon?" And we laughed. The security guard chuckled too, so the mood wasn't too cheery. He told us that we weren't the first people to try to sneak in after hours, but he wanted to know how we did it. So we explained the situation, and he actually laughed and said that wasn't a bad plan. He told us that he had to take us down to the Disney jail to be further interrogated, which we thought was odd, but figured from the beginning if we had gotten caught, they'd take us down there. It might have been our plan all along. Maybe we wanted to see the Disney Catacombs more than we wanted to be in the park after hours. So he called for more workers to come and help him escort us, and we went on our way towards Toontown, and they took us down this elevator thing, right into hell. You know, the first thing we noticed was how expensive looking the elevator was. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's hard to explain. It was like a stainless steel interior with mirrors all around, and the floor was this thick, tacked red carpeting. But it looked expensive. There were only 2 buttons in this elevator, not counting the emergency buttons. One said up, the other said down. I'd forgotten to mention that they never handcuffed us or zip-tied our hands. They just kind of walked beside us expecting we'd follow. Not that we would have tried to make a run for it. I mean, these people seemed decent. Like, how were we supposed to know what was going to happen? The elevator stopped, and we started walking down this perfectly shining, smelling of bleach corridor. No doors on either side, just a plain, empty corridor. We walked for what seemed like an eternity, and no one was talking any longer. It was me, my friends, the security guard, and 2 other maintenance workers. Finally, we reached a heavy metal door that had a security code and a card reader. One worker put his card in. The other typed a code on the keypad. I watched the code he typed in. 121566. I only remember it because I found out later its significance was, and it made me laugh looking back. Strange. It's strange that I could laugh looking back. They led me and my friends into another corridor. This one had doors down the hallway walls. Each door had a little plexiglass square, maybe 10 by 10 inch window, and at the top right of each door, looks like a psych ward, to be honest. Not so much like a jail. He led us to room 1901, and inside was a single desk with, surprisingly, 3 chairs for each of my friends and I. And then they left us there alone, closing the door on the way out. We sat in the chairs like obedient little children and waited for them to return, but, well, they never did. 2 hours went by and no one came back for us. My buddy Tim went to the door and it was unlocked, surprisingly. He didn't open it, though. We were worried that there'd be a guard outside and they'd think we were escaping, and we weren't looking for any more trouble. So about 25 minutes went by and we got restless and decided to leave the room. The hallway was empty as before. No signs of people. Nothing. It was creepy as tits. We started out by calling out. Hello? Is anybody there? No one answered our calls. Surveillance cameras were placed above every door, we noticed, and we got to wondering if there was any living soul in the place at all. We should have left right then and there, but then again, whoever does the right thing in these kinds of situations. Every door looked the same, and each one had a specific number above it. They weren't in order like, say, rooms 1 to 10. They were scattered numbers. For example, our room had been 1901, but the door next to it was 1205. We got to thinking and finally assumed that they were just randomly chosen. We walked up that hallway and we had no idea where we were going. What we were hoping to find, or even if it mattered. My other buddy, Guy, decided we should just leave. He said that if they really wanted us here, they'd come back, and maybe it was just a scare tactic. Like, maybe they wanted to trick us into thinking we were being arrested and were waiting for us outside to laugh. I felt weary of the whole situation, and Tim was just quiet the whole time, nodding his head here and there. He was more interested in looking into the doors with the 10 by 10 inch windows. That wasn't a good idea, I tried to tell him, but of course, no one listens to reason when they're freaked out, and we were definitely freaked the living heck out at this point. The cameras above the doors were capable of motion detection and followed us as we wandered down the desolate corridor. A little red light at the bottom of the lens blinking each second. No noise filled the air. All we heard was each other breathing, and then it happened. We reached the end of the hallway, unfortunately, and the door at the end was another PIN code reader. I tried the PIN from before that I saw them type in, but it was invalid. The lights at the moment in the hallway shut off, and we heard the doors. Oh, gosh. I can still hear them to this day. The doors opened. All lighting up along the corridor, they made a subtle creak and then a boom as they hit the wall behind them with force. As I said, after I entered the invalid code into the keypad, the light shut off and the doors opened. Not the door with the keypad, however, but we noticed as the doors opened, each door had a little bit of light seeping from its open pathway. We stood there stunned for a good 5 minutes, not knowing what to do. We figured we'd trip some alarm, and this was just a protocol. A standard drill in case of an attempted escape. We supposed to think. So we turned the other direction away from the locked door and just started running. A sense of panic hit all three of us for some reason, and we just got the urge to run. Neither one agreed to running. It was just like we all knew we had to at the same time. Some sort of instinct, like a baby gazelle knows when to run from a lion. Oh, we were in a lion's den, all right. It wasn't until about the 10th door that we passed we began to look into them, and standing at the doorway were people in the costumes. We were running past Donalds, Mickeys, Goofies, and Plutos, all sorts of different kinds of Disney characters. It was insane. We screamed at the top of our lungs. I know they say never look behind you as you run, but I did, and they were following us out of their rooms. Not running, just casually walking towards us. I think that's what made it that much more terrifying, almost like they knew we had nowhere to go. Now, I don't know if this was all in my head or just from sheer panic and fear of the moment, but I swear, I could swear on my mother's life, I heard It's a Small World playing over an intercom. I've had a fear of dolls and The ride always gave me the creeps my whole life, and now I could see them. Little robotic dolls standing in the doorways as we passed, still following were the costume characters. No, the dolls weren't chasing us, thank the Lord. I would have died from a heart attack if I had seen the dolls following suit, but they didn't. That doesn't make the situation all that better. I mean, how many times have you been followed by a group of costume individuals seemingly out to eat you alive? No, at least that's what I told myself to keep myself moving. Stopping meant being devoured by Donald Duck. I don't want to go out like that. I don't know about you. Tim was crying, Guy was sweating and breathing heavy, and I just kept turning my head to see if we were being followed, and of course, we were. I'm not sure how many doors we'd passed at this point, or if there were really any different characters at each door, but I knew that this hallway had to end at some point, and we were just getting the heck out of this place pronto. Easier said than done. I looked back after another minute or two of running and noticed that there was nothing behind us anymore. Nothing we could see. I heard footsteps, but figured we had gotten so far ahead and they were still just walking casually like before. The hallway was still going on for what seemed like forever, and Guy needed to stop or he was gonna faint from exhaustion. The door beside us was open, the light was on, but nothing was inside. I decided we could all hide in there till we caught our breath and could continue onward. As we closed the door behind us, I noticed the room was 1966. Again, that meant nothing at the time. Tim was pacing the room, Guy was laying on the floor, still breathing pretty hard, and I was at the window looking out. I saw nothing. No music, no nothing. It was dark out and pretty hard to tell for sure, but I would have seen figures, shadows, or something, I figured, but I kept watch. 15 minutes or so, and Guy said he was good to go. Tim was the only one smart enough to pull out his cell phone, a brand new Razor cell phone. No signal, of course. He opened the door subtly, quietly, and heard no footsteps. Nothing. Nothing was following us anymore, but we weren't taking any chances, and we got back to running. It only took us another 7 minutes to reach the door, give or take. It had no keypad, and it was open. We entered the corridor from before, and thank the Lord, no doors. We ran for the elevator and got in, pushed the button up, and stood there looking at each other, dumbfounded as to what had just happened. Neither of us spoke. We just waited till the elevator opened, back into Toontown, and started making our way for the front gate. We kept a low profile and, again, used the duck and hide technique that had gotten us this far from the get-go. Maintenance workers and security guards were still about, and we couldn't take any more chances. Finally, Tim lost it and took off in a sprint. Couldn't imagine what had set him off till I looked, and everyone in the park, all the workers, just stood there, staring at us with blank faces. We heard a voice over the intercom explaining that 3 fugitives had escaped from captivity and needed to be escorted back into the jails below. Oh, we booked at catching up to Tim. Costume characters appeared from the shadows, workers and guards chasing after us, everyone sprinting for us. I couldn't see very well, but I imagined drool dripping from their jowls. They wanted us back down there. We had escaped, and they were pissed. The gate was just up ahead. The creepiest thing about it was, besides from that voice over the intercom, the park was dead, silent. No chat from the workers could be heard, and even now, as we were running for what we assumed was our lives, from the characters, the workers, guards, no one bothered to shout after us. No one yelled. No one said, "Stop!" Nothing. Just footsteps and the occasional cough from Guy. As we made it past the park's front gate, we didn't stop until we got into the parking lot. Our car was gone, and we were left scratching our heads. We continued running down the road that went on for miles, stopping occasionally for us to catch our breath. We made it to a little corner store where Tim used his cell to call a taxi cab. It came, it picked us up, and we took the cab back to our hotel. It paid the fare, and we went up to our rooms. In the end, the next day, we got a call from the hotel desk downstairs. We went down, and there were some officers waiting for us. They told us our car had been impounded and we needed to pay the fine. They didn't ask us any other questions, and we didn't bother telling the police anything that happened. I mean, even now on this random board, people who don't have a reason to disbelieve me don't believe me, so how could an officer of the law be expected to? We didn't bother. We paid the fine, and we just drove home. We didn't talk about what happened the whole drive back. It wasn't until a couple weeks later I got myself to search up the numbers for some reason. Out of curiosity, I guess. As you all know, Walt Disney was born December 5th, 1901. The room we were staying in was 1901, and the door next to it was 1205. Also, he died December 15th, 1966, which was the key code the worker had put in to lead us into the main corridor. A strange coincidence, I decided. If any of that was real at all, I couldn't tell you. Maybe our imaginations ran wild. We were tired. It was around 1 a.m. when we made our escape, so it's plausible that's the answer. But I'll never forget it, though. I haven't been back since.